Alright boys, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be going over a trade I took the other day on EuroJPY, as well as my full daily bias and the confluences I use. So make sure you watch until the end so you can learn how to take trades like this. First things first, high time frame bias. Now what do we see on the weekly time frame? We can see that we took out the previous weekly high right here. Previous weekly high got taken right here. So I wanted to see price push lower. On the daily, we didn't have too much, except for the fact that we took out these previous daily highs right here. But we low-key have been consolidating inside of this range. So, yeah, my daily and my weekly bias wasn't too clear that we're going bearish, except for the fact that we had liquidity. But on the 4 hour, we had some stuff because we had this bullish 4 hour fair value gap. And we displaced past it. So I was like, yo, if we're displacing past this bullish gap, then I want to see price push lower. And as we can clearly see on the 1 hour here, we actually tapped back into it as an inverse fair value gap right here. So that, alright, cool. I want to see price go lower. We get more confirmation that we're going lower by the fact that we break structure to the downside. We can just see that we're making lower lows, lower highs, lower lows. The only bad thing is that we were holding mixed fair value gaps. We can see we're still respecting this 1 hour bullish fair value gaps, but we're also respecting a bearish fair value gap. So that was a bit mixed. Coming into the 15-minute, we did break structure to the upside, but I was just confident that we were filling that 1 hour fair value gap, that we were filling the inverse 4 hour fair value gap. We're filling this 15-minute fair value gap. And then I got more confirmation when we pushed past this bullish fair value gap, right? So we can see that we closed below it for 2 candles, and I was like, alright, cool. If that's the case, then this is now an inverse fair value gap. And we can see we also have another 15-minute fair value gap right here, which didn't actually get tapped into, so I just looked for an entry inside of this inverse fair value gap. I used the 5-minute for confirmation that we're going to go lower, because we broke structure to the downside, and then we also were respecting this 50% EQ. So when price tapped into the EQ for the second time right here, I took a short entry right here, stop loss at this high. And my targets today, well, my main target was this 4 hour fair value gap down here. And and yeah, break even was right here. So price consolidated for a little bit. I also realized, cool, we got equal lows right here. So my first take profit was at this one. Second TP, I think, was at this drawn liquidity. Third was at the 4 hour, and then the last one at the bottom of the 4 hour. And yeah, it was a nice little trade. You can see right here that we made $251, but then we took an L. But I gotta have dinner, so I'll be back. Okay, let's talk about the confluences I used to take this trade. This is a representation of like the same time and price. You can see that we have the 4 hour fair value gap right here. And let's just pretend it's the same as this one right here. If we wanted to continue being bullish, I would have expected the 4 hour to hold and then price to continue higher. But because today we pushed past the 4 hour, I expected us to use it as an inverse fair value gap for us to continue lower. So as we can see, if we scale down into the smaller time frames, we can see on this candle we pushed past it right here, and then we retest it right here. So on this moment, this was more confirmation that we're going to continue lower because we're pushing past a bullish imbalance, and then we're retesting it as a bearish imbalance, right? It's sort of like support and resistance. If this is like a support level and price breaks past it and rejects it now as a resistance level, you expect price to push lower. So after we came into this 4 hour fair value gap and we respected it as a level of resistance, I thought, okay, cool. Chances are we're not going to go any higher because we're now using it as a level of resistance. So after we retested this 4 hour inverse fair value gap, I wanted to look for confirmation for price to head lower. So we come up, we retest the fair value gap. Then what did I see? I wanted to see price to show us bearish market structure. So what can we see? We can see that we broke structure to the downside right here on the 5-minute. We pushed past this low, closing bearish. We can also see that we're respecting 5-minute fair value gaps to the downside, right? So we get confirmation by the fact that we broke structure to the downside, and also by the fact that we're holding bearish fair value gaps. So that's my confirmation that we're gonna go lower. So, and then I wanted to look for an entry. So today I looked for 50% of this swing range, right? Now it's a little known fact that, let me just draw it up here. It's a little known fact that when price taps into 50%, it's known to sell off. For example, if we were bullish and we were to come down to this 50%, we would want to see it reject, because it's known that bearish momentum can get sold off at 50%. Just like right here, this leg up, this bullish movement up, has been sold off at the 50%. So after we see it touch this for the first time and reject, on the second time back up, when it came back up into 50%, and I saw it reject it again, I was like, cool, it's probably going lower now. The bulls don't have any momentum, excuse me. Okay, here's another thing that we could have used for confluence for our trade. If we were bullish, right, I would want to see this 15-minute fair value gap get respected. If this was just a fake out and we were going to continue making higher highs and higher lows, I wanted to see this 15-minute fair value gap get respected. But just like the 4-hour fair value gap, we can see that we pushed below it and then we retested it as a bearish fair value gap. So for example, bullish gap, we want to see it get respected. If it doesn't get respected, we push below it, and now it's sort of like a support level turned into a resistance level. So that was more confluence on why I wanted to see price go lower.